Nobody talks about this, Breet. Productivity, work. The 15-minute reverse to-do list. Instead of planning what you'll do, write down what you actually did every 15 minutes for a day. Nobody talks about how this kills illusions of being busy and reveals where time really leaks. Mental health, deliberate boredom practice. We talk about mindfulness and relaxation, but nobody mentions scheduling boredom, 20 minutes with no phone, book, music, or tasks. It rewires dopamine tolerance and sparks creativity, but feels so uncomfortable that almost no one tries it. Money, personal finance, the sleep cost of possessions. People discuss purchase price, maintenance, resale value, but nobody calculates how many hours of lost sleep something costs. Anxiety over debt, stress about a fancy car getting scratched, time spent researching upgrades. It's a weird but powerful metric. It's relationships, monthly friendship audit. Everyone talks about romantic relationship check-ins. Nobody talks about auditing friendships. Who energizes you? Who drains you? Who would show up at 2 a.m.? Doing it quietly every month changes your social life. Learning, education, forgetting as a feature, not a bug. We obsess over memory techniques. Nobody talks about that strategic forgetting, deleting old mental models, unlearning social scripts. Discarding trivia is just as important as remembering. Health, fitness. The morning mouth tape experiment. Nasal breathing during sleep is discussed in niche biohacking circles. But almost nobody in normal health conversations mentions trying mouth tape for 5 nights to see if sleep quality, snoring, or morning energy improves, because it sounds weird. Creativity, idea graveyard with resurrections. Keep a list of your failed or abandoned projects. Every 3 months, pick one and ask, what if I did the opposite? Nobody talks about recycling dead ideas this way. They just start fresh. Digital life, the 24-hour app delay. Everyone suggests deleting social media. Nobody suggests this. Keep the apps, but set a screen time rule where you can only open them 24 hours after you first feel the urge. By then, the impulse is gone, and you realize 90% of your needs were just reflexes. Parenting, the boredom jar. Instead of entertaining kids or handing them a tablet, put 20 ridiculously boring tasks in a jar. Sort buttons, count rice grains, organize paper clips. When a child says, I'm bored, they pick from the jar. Nobody talks about how boredom, structured this way, builds tolerance for low stimulation work, a superpower later in life. Career growth, the bad meeting. Scorecard. After every meeting, rate it 1-10 on 2 things. Did we decide anything? And did anyone leave dumber? Keep the scorecard private. Nobody does this, but after a month, you'll know exactly which meetings to skip, fix, or kill. 7. Emotional intelligence, envy mapping. We talk about jealousy as bad. Nobody talks about using envy as a compass. Write down, who do I envy and for what exact thing? That thing is likely what you actually want but haven't admitted. Envy becomes a signal, not a sin. Home bow space, the reverse closet. Hang all your clothes backward. After you wear something, hang it forward. After 3 months, anything still backward gets donated. Nobody suggests this because it's tedious to set up, but it's brutally honest about what you actually wear versus what you think you wear. 13. Reading, learning, the abandonment log. Keep a list of every book, course, or article you quit halfway. Next to each, write why you quit. After a year, you'll see patterns, dense prose. Boring examples, no clear payoff. Nobody tracks quitting, but it teaches you more about your taste than finishing ever will. 16. Physical environment. The silence audit. For 1 hour, turn off HVAC notifications, phone buzzes, appliance beeps, keyboard clicks, refrigerator hums, unplug briefly, and LED power lights. Nobody talks about how much low-grade noise we tolerate until it's gone. Most people feel anxious in true silence, which is exactly why it's worth doing. 15. Social dynamics, the compliment that costs you. Give one genuine compliment per day that makes you slightly uncomfortable to say, e.g., "I was wrong, you were right," or "You're better at this than me," or "I envy your calmness." Nobody recommends this because it's vulnerable, but it builds trust faster than any icebreaker. A decision-making, the 10-year stranger test. Before a big decision, imagine a stranger 10 years older than you, with your same values, who has already lived through your choice. What would they tell you? Nobody talks about this because it's abstract, but it bypasses short-term fear and social pressure better than pro-con lists. Cut. Communication, the pause bank. In every conversation, intentionally pause for 2 full seconds before responding. Don't tell anyone you're doing it. Nobody talks about how this single habit makes you seem wiser, calmer, and more thoughtful, and gives your brain time to actually listen instead of just waiting to talk. 19. Creativity block, bad ideas only. Set a timer for 10 minutes and force yourself to generate the worst possible solutions to your problem, e.g., to write a novel, first set your laptop on fire. Nobody recommends this because it feels like wasting time, but bad ideas loosen perfectionism and often contain the seed of a great idea hidden inside. Sleep, the pre-sleep brain dump. Keep a notebook by your bed. Every night, write down everything you're worried about forgetting. Tasks, ideas, worries. Then close the notebook and tell yourself, "It's saved. I don't need to hold it." Nobody talks about how anxiety about forgetting is a major hidden cause of insomnia, and this fixes it. Fitness, the walk with no destination, no step goal. No podcast, no music, no route plan. Just walk out your door and turn randomly whenever you feel like it for 30 minutes, then find your way back. Nobody talks about how this trains physical intuition, reduces decision fatigue, and feels more restorative than structured exercise. Learning a skill. The mentor. You pay to ignore you. Hire an expert via Fiverr, Upwork, or a coach for 1 hour. Tell them, "Don't teach me. Just watch me try for 55 minutes. Then give me 5 minutes of corrections." Nobody does this because it feels backwards, but watching you reveals your specific blind spots better than any generic tutorial. Relationships, the unsent, letter archive. Write angry, sad, or confessional letters to people. Never send them. Save them in a folder. Reread after 6 months. Nobody talks about how this acts as emotional time travel. You see your own patterns, pettiness, and growth without damaging real relationships. Money, weird. The reverse emergency fund. Instead of saving for disasters, save for one joy thing you'd never normally allow yourself, e.g., a ridiculously expensive cheese board, a hot air balloon ride. Spend it guilt-free when you hit the goal. Nobody talks about this because personal finance is obsessed with fear, but joy-based saving actually works better for impulse spenders. Babe. Environment, clutter, the week-long box. Put anything you're unsure about throwing away into a box. Tape it shut. Write the date. If you haven't opened the box after 1 week, throw it away unopened. Nobody does this because we think we'll remember what's inside, but 90% of the time, you won't even miss the objects you can't recall. Social media, the one-comment rule. You can scroll all you want, but you're only allowed to write 1 comment per day, excluding direct replies to friends. Nobody talks about how this kills performative arguing, doom scrolling with rage, and the illusion that your hot take matters. Decision fatigue, the uniform. Buy 5 to 7 identical versions of the same shirt, pants, socks, and underwear. Wear them every day. Nobody talks about this outside of Steve Jobs anecdotes, but removing clothing decisions saves 100 hours, year of low-grade mental clutter. Anxiety, the 5-minute worry hour. Schedule 5 minutes at the same time each day, e.g., 4:05 p.m., to worry on purpose. Any worry that comes up outside that window gets written down and saved for the appointment. Nobody talks about how containing anxiety, rather than fighting it, paradoxically reduces it. In eating habits, the first 3 bites rule. For any indulgent food, eat the first 3 bites slowly and mindfully. Then ask, am I still enjoying this as much? If not, stop. Nobody talks about this because food culture is all or nothing, but most pleasure happens in the first 3 bites anyway. To memory, the end of day, 3 things. Every night, name. 1 thing you learned today, 1 thing you're grateful for, 1 thing you'd do differently, say them out loud. Nobody talks about how this simple triplet encodes your day into long-term memory better than journaling, because speaking activates different neural pathways. Travel, the unplanned afternoon. For every full day of travel, schedule nothing from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. No attractions, no restaurants, no plans. Just wander, sit, or follow a local's random suggestion. Nobody talks about this because we over-optimize trips, but your best memories will come from unplanned afternoons. Tatu. Negotiation, the first silence wins. After you state your price or request, shut up and count to 10 in your head. Do not fill the silence. Nobody talks about how most people cave in silence because it's uncomfortable, but the first person to speak after an offer usually loses leverage. Grief, loss, the small ritual. Set one tiny, repeatable act to remember someone you've lost, e.g., light a specific candle for 2 minutes each morning, or tap the edge of a particular mug before drinking. Nobody talks about how small rituals contain grief better than big anniversaries or memorials. Support the channel by subscribing.